much more tragic and for news today, I think one of the most important stories, desperately underplayed as far as I can tell. Our foreign affairs minister visited Afghanistan today to explain why Australia is going to be pulling out all our soldiers this year, along with the Americans. Well, what else can we do now? Terrible timing, Brendan, because suspected Islamists used a car bomb and 2 other bombs to attack a school in the capital, Kabul, killing at least 68 people, almost all of them female students. Here's one of them. Brendan, what really blows my mind is that here are people working under the influence of an ideology that says to them blowing up girls at school is good. And when I think of that, I'm thinking, is Afghanistan really not our fight as well?
You know, I mean, what a vile act that was, you know, a vile act of misogynistic barbarism. That's what we're faced with in Afghanistan at the moment, an explicit assault on young girls and the right of young girls to have an education, to enter into normal life, to be knowledgeable, and all those things that we should be celebrating. I think this should be the biggest story in the world. You know, when schoolgirls get assaulted in this grotesque way, there really should be more discussion about this. But too often we downplay Islamist attacks, and as you say, this is a suspected Islamist attack. We're uncomfortable talking about this, and so we kind of just tend to ignore it. I think this story should be far bigger than it is at the moment. I think it is our fight as well. Whether our troops should stay in Afghanistan, I mean, that's an open question, and what they managed to achieve, I think, is a big question too. But certainly, I think one thing we can do is be more honest about the problem of radical Islam, stop shirking away from it, and address it, you know, for the terrible presence in our world that it is, and encourage more people to stand up to it and to talk about it honestly.
Brendan, I'm almost out of time, but I've got to ask you, Labor got smashed. Labor in Britain got smashed when Britain voted to leave Europe. Labor got smashed again at the last election after trying to stop Prime Minister Boris Johnson from leaving Europe as promised. And now it's got smashed again in the weekend elections, losing the by-election for a working class seat that Labor had always held, and getting thrashed in local council elections in Labor Heartland too. What is going on? How could this possibly happen to a Labor Party led by a knight, Sir Keith Starmer, who actually bends the knee to Black Lives Matter? What could possibly have gone wrong?
Well, that photograph you have there sums it all up. There is Sir Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party, taking the knee to Black Lives Matter and essentially to the politics of identity. You know, what's happening to the British Labour Party is a similar story to what's happening to social democratic parties across Europe and in Australia, I think. These parties are no longer in touch with working class people. They're no longer in touch with ordinary, decent working men and women. They've become the property of middle class graduates, the managerial elites, the professional classes, which have turned these parties into, you know, quite eccentric machines that are more obsessed with eco-nonsense and identity politics than they are with improving the lives of working people. And what we're witnessing in Britain is a
surprised when the working classes turn against them. What a joke. Yeah. Brendan O'Neill, I urge people to read your writings on the election results and others, the writings of others there on Spiked Online. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.